Welcome to Pratt & Whitney Customer Training Programs. This program describes in detail the Propulsion Interface and Monitor Unit, or PIMU, used to display engine-related fault messages on the PW4000-powered Boeing 767 aircraft. Contained in this program are the correct procedures used to interrogate the PIMU, retrieve active faults and historical faults from previous flight legs, do corrective actions, and verify the reported problems have been solved. Fault messages, shown in the PIMU's alphanumeric display panel, are used to isolate systems with faults. PW4000 engine-related faults are initially detected and their associated labels and bits recorded and stored by the Full Authority Digital Electronic Control, or FADEC, found on the engine's fan case. These fault messages are sent from each engine's FADEC via the AirInc 429 bus to their respective PIMUs found in the aircraft's main equipment center, and/or to the Engine Indicating and Crew Alerting System, or ICAS, found on the flight deck. The ICAS serves as the aircraft's primary engine parameter display system. The PIMU automatically receives and stores engine operational in-flight FADEC fault messages each time the air-ground sensor detects weight on wheels for at least 5 seconds. These flight faults are listed numerically by label and bit in PIMU Table 101 in the Boeing Maintenance Manual, Chapter 77-35-00. PIMU Table 101 also references the corrective action to be taken when troubleshooting a problem. In addition to automatically receiving fault messages recorded during each flight, the PIMU receives and stores ground test faults, or active faults, and historical flight leg data stored in the FADEC memory. Historical flight leg data provides valuable information used to identify reoccurring faults. Both ground test faults and historical faults are discussed later in the program. Now that you have an understanding of how and when the PIMU receives and stores fault messages from the FADEC, let's discuss the need for interrogating the PIMU. Any one of 3 sources can be used to determine if the PIMU needs to be interrogated: the ICAS display, the aircraft logbook, and finally, the airline's PIMU interrogation schedule. To determine if and when the PIMU needs to be interrogated, the first thing to look at is the aircraft flight deck's lower ICAS display screen to see if any of the following fault messages are displayed. Status level message, left or right engine control. Status level message, left or right engine EEC C1. Maintenance level message, left or right engine EEC C2. Or maintenance level message, left or right PIMU. Status level messages appear when the status button found on the pilot's display panel is pressed. Status level message, left or right engine control, appearing in the lower ICAS display, means the PIMU must be interrogated immediately and the engine-related problem resolved before the aircraft can be dispatched. The other status level message, left or right engine EEC C1, means the PIMU should be interrogated. When to do the interrogation is based upon Boeing Maintenance Manual specifications detailing the requirements for aircraft dispatchability for that particular fault. Unlike status level messages, maintenance level messages appear on the lower ICAS display when the ECS MSG button on the ICAS maintenance control panel, found on the P61 panel behind the first officer's seat, is pressed. Display on the ECS MSG page of maintenance level message left or right engine EEC C2 or left or right PIMU means the PIMU should be interrogated. When to do the interrogation is once again based upon Boeing Maintenance Manual specifications detailing the requirements for aircraft dispatchability for these particular faults. Note that the messages left or right engine control and left or right engine EEC C1 may also appear on the ECS MSG page. If none of these messages appear, all recent entries made by the flight crew into the aircraft logbook should then be reviewed. If the message left engine control and its fault code, or right engine control and its fault code appears in the log, the PIMU must be interrogated immediately and the engine-related problem resolved before the aircraft can be dispatched. If the aircraft logbook does not contain either entry, the airline's regular PIMU interrogation schedule should then be checked to see if the PIMU is scheduled for interrogation. To summarize, the PIMU must be interrogated before an aircraft can be dispatched if the ICAS displays status level message left or right engine control, or the aircraft logbook has an entry of left or right engine control. The PIMU should be interrogated based upon Boeing Maintenance Manual specifications for aircraft dispatchability if the ICAS displays status level message left or right engine EEC C1 or maintenance level messages left or right engine EEC C2 or left or right PIMU, or the PIMU interrogation schedule dictates such an action. Once it has been determined the PIMU needs to be interrogated, it is important to know the correct procedures to use during the interrogation process. As mentioned, the left engine's PIMU and right engine's PIMU are found in the aircraft's main equipment center. To gain access to this area, use the access support door found outside the aircraft, just aft of the nose wheel, or the door found inside the aircraft on the right side of the forward baggage compartment. Or on some airlines, the floor hatch found just inside the forward entry door used by the passengers. Once inside the main equipment center, the left engine's PIMU can be found in rack E1-3. The right engine's PIMU in rack E2-4. The PIMU is interrogated while the aircraft is on the ground using aircraft-supplied 115 volts AC power. All engines can be shut down. For convenience, external power to the FADEC can also be applied at this time. How to supply this power is discussed later in the program under Ground Test Faults. The interrogation process begins by running the PIMU's self-test procedure to test the unit. Then display all the flight fault messages stored in the PIMU memory and hand record each message for later reference during troubleshooting. Determine if the fault is active. Run the maintenance recall procedure to retrieve historical data detailing engine-related faults from previous flight legs. Do the corrective action shown for each active fault, and verify that the maintenance actions taken have solved the reported problems. Each step in the interrogation process will now be discussed in detail. The PIMU self-test procedure. Before interrogating the PIMU, the unit's self-test procedure is run to verify its operating integrity. This is done by pressing and holding the PIMU's Monitor Verify button. All 24 lights on the PIMU display screen should illuminate. If not, the unit must be replaced. Release of the Monitor Verify button starts the self-test procedure. If the procedure takes longer than 3 seconds to run, a Test in Progress message is displayed. Upon the successful completion of the procedure, a Ready message is displayed for 10 seconds. If the procedure did not run successfully, The message PIMU Monitor Fail is displayed for 10 seconds. Display of this message requires replacement of the unit. Following the ready message, all FADEC flight fault messages stored in the PIMU memory can be displayed. Flight fault messages, first from FADEC's Channel A, then from Channel B, are displayed when the PIMU's bit switch is pressed and released. Each time the bit switch is pressed and released, a new flight fault message appears. Each message must be hand-recorded for later use in troubleshooting the problem. When the last flight fault message has been displayed and the bit switch is pressed, the message END will appear. Following this, the same messages may again be displayed by continuing to press and release the bit switch. Once all flight fault messages have been displayed and recorded, the PIMU's memory must be cleared by pressing and releasing the reset button on the front of the unit. With the PIMU memory cleared, ground test faults, or active faults, should then be displayed and recorded. To display these faults, power must first be supplied to the FADEC, either by running the engine or using ground test power. Ground test power is made available when the left or right engine power switch, found on the flight deck's P61 EEC maintenance panel, is moved to the test position. As previously mentioned, for the interrogator's convenience, ground test power can be supplied to the FADEC before entering the main equipment center. Once the FADEC has power, the PIMU receives active FADEC Channel A and Channel B fault messages when the PIMU's ground test switch is moved from the center position to Channel A and released, causing a test in progress message to be displayed. When the test in progress message disappears, the ground test switch is then moved to Channel B and released, causing another test in progress message to be displayed. When this message disappears, the PIMU's bit switch is then pressed and released to display each active FADEC Channel A and Channel B fault message. Each message is once again hand-recorded for later reference during the troubleshooting process. When there are no more active FADEC fault messages for display, the message END will appear. The PIMU's reset button must now once again be pressed to clear all active fault messages currently stored in the PIMU memory. Following the display of flight faults and active faults, historical fault messages stored in the FADEC memory from previous flight legs should be displayed and recorded to get a complete picture of engine-related faults before any corrective actions are taken. The PIMU retrieves historical fault messages from the FADEC using the maintenance recall procedure. Before the procedure is run, the engine must be shut down and ground test power supplied to the FADEC. Note, because of active fault retrieval requirements, the FADEC should already be receiving ground test power. To run the procedure, the PIMU's maintenance recall button is pressed and released to retrieve FADEC fault messages for the most recent flight leg that had faults. During the retrieval process, the message Channel A test in progress with a $sign is displayed, followed by the message Channel B test in progress with a $sign. The next message to be displayed is Channel A flight leg and the flight leg's number. The PIMU's bit switch is then pressed to individually display each FADEC Channel A fault message. Please note that the $sign symbol preceding the channel identifier indicates historical flight leg data. Each fault message and its flight leg number are hand-recorded for later use in identifying the faults and when they occurred, and determining which faults repeat for the various flight legs being shown. After all FADEC Channel A fault messages have been displayed for a flight leg, the message end $ Channel A is shown. Following display of this message, the PIMU's bit switch is again pressed, and the message Channel B flight leg and the flight leg's number will appear. Note, flight leg numbers for Channel A and Channel B will not always be the same. After Channel B messages for a specific flight leg have been displayed and recorded, and the message end $ Channel B appears, FADEC Channel A and Channel B fault messages for the next most recent flight leg that had faults can be retrieved by again pressing the Maintenance Recall button and repeating the steps just mentioned. The Maintenance Recall procedure can be repeated until sufficient historical data has been obtained. There is no more historical data for FADEC Channel A or Channel B when the message Channel A Flight Leg 0 or Channel B Flight Leg 0 is displayed, the bit switch is pressed, and the message end $ Channel A or end $ Channel B appears. It's important to note that if the message Channel A or Channel B Flight Leg 0 is shown, and a fault message appears when the bit switch is pressed, the engine-related fault occurred either after the engine was shut down or during an engine ground run. To exit the maintenance recall procedure, ground test power to the FADEC is turned off. This is done by moving the left engine power switch or the right engine power switch on the EEC maintenance panel to the normal position. Once all faults have been identified, the troubleshooting process can begin. PIMU Table 101 in the Boeing Maintenance Manual references the corrective action to be taken for each fault. In the example shown, the corrective action for PIMU message EEC Channel A or B fuel metering unit torque motor wraparound fail is found in Figure 105, Sheet 1 in Chapter 77-35-00. The first procedure shown under the corrective action column for Figure 105, Sheet 1 is then followed. After completing the troubleshooting process, it should be determined that the corrective action taken for each of the recorded faults has, in fact, solved the problem. The procedure for verification is identified by the numbered flag note shown with both the PIMU message and the corrective action being taken. For example, if the PIMU message reads EEC Channel A fuel metering unit torque motor wraparound failure, the flag note associated with the message and corrective action is numbered 1. In accordance with flag note 1, the FADEC would require ground test power before the PIMU can be examined to see if the PIMU message comes back. If the message does not appear on the PIMU display, the problem has been solved. If the message remains, return to Figure 105, Sheet 1 and follow the next alternate corrective action. And once again verify, using the appropriate flag note, that the action taken has solved the problem. This completes the PW4000-powered Boeing 767 PIMU Interrogation program. You should now have a good understanding of how the PIMU receives its fault messages, when to interrogate the PIMU, how to display flight faults, how to retrieve and display ground test faults, how to retrieve and display historical faults, how to troubleshoot a problem, and how to verify the problem has been solved. The Propulsion Interface and Monitor Unit, an invaluable piece of equipment used to keep your fleet of PW4000-powered Boeing 767 aircraft operating efficiently and on time.